All right, it's testimony time. um, we're supposed to share our testimonies, and I want to share my testimony now that I understand it. And I want to talk about sexual promiscuity. We're going to talk about issues of rape and all this stuff that Yah is bringing to the table. And he has something to say, because these are stumbling blocks in our sin nature. And it really matters how light, at the end of the day, it's a matter of how converted we are. Anyway, I'm just going to share my testimony about, I'm going to be really transparent. It's Shabbat. We're supposed to fellowship. And, I don't know, whatever. I can't sit here and not talk to anybody and just endure what I have to endure. I'll just numb out and be drained of everything. I don't know. So, in the world we're taught that we're supposed to sexual promiscuity is encouraged in the world, and most people accept it. And for me, it's always been an issue. It's kind of the root of my testimony. And when you don't know the truth, when you're in the world, people will laugh at you for it and stuff. And people who are abused and stuff like that tend to go into sexual promiscuity. It's very common. And the Bible says we're going to have trouble in that area. It's a stumbling block. And for me, I turned out a different way. And only because Yah revealed this stuff to me over a process of time. I learned this only about myself only this past year. And I don't know. I was adopted as a child. I was born in Manhattan. My mother did drugs while she was pregnant with me. Probably had some kind of infiltrating satanic influence while she was pregnant with me to get her to do drugs while she was pregnant with me. I was born addicted to crack and cocaine. She was living on the rooftops, from what I understand, in Manhattan while she was pregnant with me. That makes sense. So when I was born addicted to cocaine. And if you're familiar with gang stalking, that's clearly an attack from the devil. If you know the effects cocaine has on you, it's just that's gang stalking alley. Just that stress, and it makes you very susceptible to the effects of what gang stalking does to you. So that's no coincidence. So it's definitely a satanic attack, as the devil knows who we are before we're even born from the second heaven. So I was in the hospital, an abandoned child, alone for 6 months, with no affection, no love. And I was in that hospital alone, in the hands of that hospital for 6 months. And they molested me there, or raped me as an infant. And that's why I talk kind of funny. I only learned this stuff about myself this past year, less than a year. And so I was detoxing, getting raped, and they did other stuff. Yah hasn't really revealed the details, but a lot of traumatic stuff. I think I was probably thrown in garbage cans or something. I don't know. I don't know. And I was eventually adopted into a family after 6 months. No one knew. No one had any idea that happened to me there. And I think the only way I survived was by Yah's hand. That's what I believe. And whatever, I'm eventually adopted. No one knew that stuff was going on while I was in the hospital alone for 6 months. And I was adopted into a family that, they finally divorced when I was a teenager, very, 12, 13, when it got really bad, the most impressionable age. But my parents never really loved each other. So, you're adopted. You don't have affection for the first 6 months of your life. You're born addicted to cocaine. So the cocaine produces a hypersexual influence in your body. And I would have, as I got older, the cocaine diminished, but I only learned I was born addicted to cocaine when the CIA came into my life and, all this gang stalking stuff. I didn't know this stuff about myself growing up. So you have all this mixed bag, and growing up in a family that was divorced and adopted into a family that, relationships, and I turned out it leads for a very uncomfortable time in this world. Most people, victims of abuse, they run around having sex and stuff, and they survive that way. But for me, it wasn't like that. I grew up with a not understanding, having a strong sexual drive, and a strong need for affection with a lot of passion. But the way I grew up, the way I turned out, I get really offended at sexual promiscuity. It really bothers me. I get really offended. And sexual abuse hardens your heart. So, and being adopted into a family leaves for a mess. And that's what led me into my sin. And when you're in the world and you don't know the truth, and in the world you're believed, I never felt accepted my whole life. So so in the world, you kind of believe sexual contact is how you get accepted. And I was never accepted. I wasn't the kind of person that women liked or anything, because I was born addicted to drugs. I didn't know this about me, and I had a vitamin D deficiency, and so I didn't look very good. Generally speaking, I was very scrawny. Women generally weren't attracted to me. So it leaves for a very painful time in this life. If you could even conceive. And I didn't understand all this. The Lord put me through a process this past year. I only learned this stuff about myself this past year, and really made sense. Things only made sense to me this past year. And so when you're in the world, you believe a lie. Sexual activity is how you're accepted, and you don't feel accepted, and you wind up in internet porn. And after the years of drinking and on internet porn, and you find yourself attracted to things that, I don't know. I didn't know I was born addicted to cocaine. I didn't know I was molested as an infant. I didn't understand my psychology. And I found myself attracted to very unhealthy things because I didn't have love. I was just someone who needed love. That's it. And I was attracted to dark things because I was out of insecurity. And so, that goes on the FBI's radar. This guy's a rapist and all that kind of stuff. And it's not like, I don't want to, it always starts off like you don't even think the stuff is real, and the way internet porn is, it's like the stuff that might be considered acceptable is mixed in with the stuff that's not, and it's just rabbit holes, and it's accessible to anyone. It's not, I wasn't going on the dark web and doing all this criminal activity. It was just accessible to anyone. Anybody could go down that trail and find your life ruined. And then with my story, I contacted this woman, and the mafia came after me, and then everyone came after me thinking I'm some kind of rapist, which that never clicked. That never clicked because I wasn't. I was just someone who needed love. And when Yah entered into my life, when Yah intervened in my life, I experienced that unconditional love, and that I needed. And anyway, and that's a different story. And that kind of led to my healing. But when you walk with Yah, he doesn't just, it's not a walk in the park. He goes there. He those wounds that you have just get enlarged and enlarged and enlarged. And it cuts deep in every way. And, once you understand we're supposed to give this life as a sacrifice, as an altar, on the altar, and things, for an eternal reward. But with my daughter and everything, you could just cry blood, So I end up a different way. Most people are okay with sexual promiscuity. That's life for me. I turned out the opposite way. I grew up a loner, and I always got very offended and hurt by that kind of stuff. Being adopted, and you just give yourself away to people with no. I strongly believe in caring for someone and loving somebody, and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. And that just happens to be in line with the heart of Yah. But it's not because I'm better than anybody. It's just I'm molded that way by default, out of sin, if that makes sense. And of course, in my persecution campaign, the idea behind my gang stalking campaign, they knew this about me. I didn't know this about me. And they know human science, okay? So they go, oh, okay, he was molested as a child. This happened to him. That hardens your heart. Let's keep hardening that part in his heart so he gets disqualified by the Lord. And the enemy just wants you to perish in your own rage. So their plan is, oh, you were disqualified by God because you were molested as a child and you didn't even know. And, oh, everything sucks. Oh, God. That's their plan. And, that hardness of heart makes you want to fight. When you feel pain, if someone puts a flame to your skin, you want to, hey, stop, hey, you want to, and that's what it's kind of like when I come across sexual promiscuity, and I have really bad experiences with my girlfriend and stuff like that. It's just like everything, it was just the worst thing for me. What happened was really the worst thing for me. And I didn't realize, I didn't know these things about myself. So during my life, my old life before I was saved, I took all the wrong paths and not knowing why. But so that's kind of how I ended up, and people don't understand that, and it's mostly laughed at. I don't know. I always dream about finding someone who feels the same way I do. And I don't know. It's not that I'm better than or more moral than somebody, than anyone else. That's not the truth. This is just how I turned out. And when I found the truth in Christ, Yahuwah was the only thing that's ever healed that in my heart. That's ever made that okay. Reading his word, reading his truth, it's the only, I felt like Yahuwah, it's like his way of saying, come home, Does that make any sense, But it's not because I'm better than anybody. It's just by default. It's a sin. He told me, he's like, I could use that. He can't use, when people are abused and go into sexual sin. I came out the opposite. I was abused and I can't stand sexual sin. I get very offended by it. And I just hate it. It's an enemy. And where's the goodness? People don't love each other. People suck. And F you. And I don't know. That was my old, I don't know. Whatever. I shouldn't have said that. I don't know. I can't explain it. It's just I grew up with a fight for goodness, for loving each other, for especially when it came to sex, that stuff should matter. That's not very popular in this world. And especially in the world, before you're saved, if you don't even understand that, and you're, in the world, we're trained to believe a lie, because that sexual promiscuity is a lie, and, you end up getting sick. And that's what happened to me. I ended up getting sick because I believed a lie and not understanding my heart. My heart could not survive in the way of the world, So, I don't know. So that's kind of where, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. So I take a lot of comfort. It just led me in the ways of Yah, the ways of the truth. When you learn the truth about our eternal inheritance, and it's very comforting, because it's like the only thing that could relate to me is Yah's truth. So that's kind of how I turned out. So it's kind of ironic how Yah uses everything meant for evil, he uses for good. He allows these horrible things to happen because it's used for good. And in the enemy's attempt to keep hardening my heart so I could just perish, and so I get to squat, but they can't conceive of the love I have for the Lord is greater. It's the only thing that's ever made me feel, because it's the only thing that's ever made that okay. And I don't know, everything meant for evil, Yah uses for good. So that's kind of where I'm at, and that's kind of like my testimony. And I don't know. And looking back, that hardness in your heart that sexual abuse comes from, the music that always resonated with me, it has that kind of vibration, I loved the Beach Boys growing up. And then I mean, I was obsessed with the Beach Boys. I loved the Beach Boys. Loved them. And I still do love the music. But, and I went to the Beach Boys to Nirvana, and I went from Nirvana to, Delta Blues. And all those are completely opposite genres of music. But it still has the same tone. That loner, kind of cool hardness of heart, lonesome cowboy kind of thing. And that's what happens with sexual abuse, and I don't know. It's just the way I turned up, you know? If people can't even conceive, I don't know. So that's kind of where I'm coming from that. And Yah is chasing me sore because the last thing I need in my life is to be alone. You know? And Yah has called me to be alone. And it's very painful. And I've been alone it's been almost a decade since I've had a conversation, actual physical and natural conversation with someone that actually knows me, knows anything that's going on with me. It's been almost a decade. And he chastens, you know, all these painful things. He goes right there, but you know why? Because for our eternally, it's more healthy for us. It's better to have a broken heart in this life. And he's maturing me and understanding kingdom relationships, you know. We're supposed to be happily married and have children in the millennial reign, but after the millennial reign, male and female will be no more, I think. There will come a time in that. For way down the future. And I just know as painful, you know, it would seem in the natural, you know, I should have a nice, healthy relationship and all that kind of stuff. And, but, you know, no, he keeps pushing those knives in the heart, you know. And, but it's really for our good, so I get focused in his word and stay close to him and not in sin, which is kind of, you know, having a healthy girlfriend is not going to get you anywhere in the kingdom, generally speaking. You know, it's not so much beneficial. It's better to have a broken heart, mature, and, you know, find some, you know, grow, mature, and that's what I learned. And, you know, eventually find someone who you'll love for the rest of your life, you know. I don't know. So that's kind of where I'm at in that situation. And a lot of people don't understand. And I wish I could meet someone that feels the same way I do, but it seems like they don't exist, you know. So it's an issue. That's kind of where I'm coming from in there. You know, growing up, when I was in the world, I was the kind of guy that just stayed on the beach all the time and wrote poetry, you know, and I fell flat on my face. I always felt like I had something to say, but I didn't understand what it was. Now I understood this is what I had to say. You know, it was kind of like an F you to the world. People don't love each other. But I didn't understand that. You know. I don't know. That's my testimony. And I'm trying to work through it, you know, it's very hard. I don't know. But I don't know, that's it. That's my testimony, as far as that goes. So Yah has something to say about this. Victims of sexual abuse. There are two sides. You know, victims of sexual abuse, they tend to go towards some people want to be abused and they like being abused. And then there's others who just need love, you know, the way I turned out. And it's like a cycle. And Yah has something to say about that cycle, you know. And to the secular world, it's like, well, you know, it's one big joke, but, or whatever. But, I don't know. It's what the FBI couldn't figure out, or didn't want to figure out, because it doesn't fit the profile, you know. It's just someone who needed love. I think it's pretty obvious, but someone who just needed his daughter. That's my testimony. Thanks for tuning in, guys.